I have had enough of the tweets, the DMs on Instagram, the YouTube comments of, Jack, what's your favorite top 5 Call of Duty games? I've received this question hundreds of times throughout all different social medias, and I love the passion, but at the same time, if I see one more, that's not me getting physically aggressive, that's me slapping that block button, baby. No, but for real, so many people ask me this. Jack, what's your favorite top 5 games? What's your favorite top 5 COD games? What's your favorite of this? Let's just start right now with settling the biggest of all. What are my top 5 favorite Call of Duty games? And I want to be very clear here. This is across the board. This is from top to bottom of the game, the campaign, the multiplayer, my personal experience with the game, the private match experience, everything. We're going to cover each platform of it, starting with number 5, Call of Duty World at War. Now I know, this might surprise some people. Some people might have it much higher on the list. Some people might have it much lower. Call of Duty World at War was a very polarizing game. It was unique. It had the vehicles. It had that grand epic scheme. There was, you know, a lot of maps where you were best suited if you were literally a sniper hiding with a Betty behind you, just camping it on out, playing it passively, playing it slow. That wasn't really my World at War experience, you know. Enjoyed the campaign side of things. I thought that some of my most memorable moments in COD were from actually some of the odd little glitches that were in the game, like the rock glitch, if you remember on Macon. I played a ton of competitive with my friends in that. It wasn't the ultimate competitive game for me, but I remember playing a lot of pubs, enjoying my time while on it. It was a unique Call of Duty game, which I enjoyed. Thinking of the times where, you know, people would hop into tanks and that interaction there was completely different. And I just love the epic feeling of some of the maps. You know, it truly felt like you were in like these grand areas, and coming across these engagements felt intense and rewarding when you would win them. So 5 would be Call of Duty World at War. We'll get a little bit more in depth with the others because these are the 4 that I expect really most people to have at the top 4 of their list. But in the first through 4 slots could really swap around. For me at number 4, the original COD 4. Now, oh my God! Don't yell at me, people, but here's my reasoning why. Campaign, legendary moments, right? It's so much fun. The competitive side of things, I didn't get into it too much then when I originally played, but even playing it now in MWR, you get a taste of what it was like. Yes, respawns were completely different back then, and you haven't really experienced that much in MWR since most people just play S&D. Pubs were a ton of fun. I got 10th Prestige 55 on 2 accounts. 2 different accounts. But I can promise you, I could play way more pubs in the original than the new one, I think, right now, because I'm so much more focused on competitive that I really just hop on that game to play competitive matches. But everyone knows COD 4 still had some frustrating parts, you know, Juggernaut. Some of the maps could be very easily spawn trapped. A map like Countdown, for example, comes to mind. I remember if you didn't have the best teammates, you just keep spawning in those warehouses and trying to run out, and people would be in different headies, you know, pre-aiming with M16s, just bursting you off spawn. The triple nades, I mean, come on, that's frustrating in and of itself. Those few things come to mind, but COD 4 for me was a ton of fun. It's the game that changed Call of Duty forever. You know, COD 3 is where I really started playing, and the experience going from COD 3 to COD 4 was like night and day. I mean, COD 4 was just the game that really brought Call of Duty to the limelight. It's the game that pushed what it meant to be a console FPS, and everyone that I know has fond memories of that game from back then. And that's why MWR was even a thing, because of just how good COD 4 originally was. So now we've got at number 5, World at War, at number 4, COD 4, at number 3, we've got ourselves none other than Modern Warfare 2. Now, MW2 for me was where I really dove most into competitive at the time, playing the different game modes, grinding GBs with my best 4 friends from high school. We would either play 4s or 5s. The highest rank we got to was 74th. We actually have a montage on YouTube of us beating the number 3 team because we beat them in a best of 3. They disputed and said that we lost because they were like the 3rd ranked team and we were going to try to fake it. And my buddy had his Dazzle plugged in, if you remember what that was, if you're that much of an OG. And he made a little montage of all the highlights of it, and when we put it up, they then flipped the thing in our favor, and I remember some of those players got in trouble for it, but it was super, super fun. MW2, legendary campaign. I mean, what a campaign in that game. Then you also add in multiplayer, which, for me, the best score streaks, I will say, hands down, in COD history. The AC-130, badass as shit. By far my favorite aerial streak in COD history. Then you add in the stealth bomber. I mean, come on, that thing was intense as well. Chopper gunner, which everyone used. The Harrier aircraft, which would literally be a mini airstrike and then be like a turret in the sky that could lock onto people. That's how you got your chopper gunner to then get your nukes. And then, yeah, nukes were a thing. I'm still waiting for the day nukes come back, man. I was the guy in my Xbox 360 profile that said, nuke count 127, you know, like, get at me. You know, I would be looking at my KD like, oh, I just fell below a 3.1 today. Oh, I gotta pick it back up. Like, I was so into KD pub stomping, played hours and hours of that game. The up 45, oh my god, stopping power, FMJ gets me pregnant just thinking about it right now. And then obviously you have your one burst weapons like the FAMAS and the M16, the Intervention, the most legendary sniper of all time in Call of Duty. So many good things about that game. Again, had its own frustrations as well. Some of the glitches, some of the, like, the hacks and cheats people had. But you gotta tell me, everyone watching this video who played that game settled something in a one-on-one on Rust. Simple as that. That's just how it happened. It's how it went down. You talking some shit? Bring it to Rust, baby. Let's get it done. And then even the third-person experience, that little difference was a fun game mode to play as well. TAC insertions for me weren't my favorite, but you know what? For all the positives in that game, you got to take some of the negatives. Moving forward, though, my top two, at number 2, is Black Ops 2. And whoa! Oh my god, I'm disliking the video, unsubbing, unfollowing Courage, sending hate mail to his P.O. box. No! They're coming for me. No, but for real. Black Ops 2, great campaign. It was the epitome of a multiplayer experience for me with pubs, you know, with competitive, with league play. League play was everything for me. I got private YouTube videos of me playing with a couple of my favorite pros, Big Timer being one of them. I was like, what is up, guys? Innis Courage, Neat Gamer here, and I matched Big Timer. Yeah, I was a super fanboy. Yes, I was. I'll never forget Season 1 of League Play. I get Masters, right? And you get into Masters and you can see who else is in your tier, and I'm looking up and down, and you know, I'm like Masters, you know, 128 out of 200 in my tier. And I'm thinking, I'm the GOAT, baby. Like, look at me. This is just the first season. I'm going pro this year. And I'll never forget that feeling of, like, accomplishment. And then I was, like, scrolling up and down, and I looked, like, 6 ranks below me. And at, like, 134 was Optic Nade Shot. And I was like, I'm the man, dude. Are you serious? Like, look at me, some rando fat ass from New Jersey who's now got a higher rank in rank than Nade Shot. Get at me, boy. And then I realized that that meant nothing, and I was a complete failure still, and he went on to win major tournaments and be wildly successful, and I sat at my home and ate soup out of a pot made by my mother. So there's pros and cons to that. So I think Nade wins that battle, but we'll have to see how things pan out in the future. Either way, the game, I mean, come on, man. So much fun about it, bro. It felt so well balanced. You had different play styles you could build around depending on what weapon you wanted. If you wanted to run, you know, a super fast class in CTF to run the flag, then you had some downsides to that. Maybe you wouldn't take any grenades and you'd rely on your teammates. You know, if you wanted to get up close and personal in the hard point, the Scorpion with laser sight would shred people. If you wanted to get that mid-range gunny, not really picking people off head glitches, but holding some lanes, you know, just powerful weapon, you'd rock that AN-94, and then the M8, the crown jewel of it all, man. That higher rate of fire M8, you forget how fast it just really shot. That thing absolutely shredded. The B-23R, obviously the God pistol still. Oh my gosh, so much of that game was fantastic. The best maps by far in COD history. There is not even a close second. Black Ops 2 wins in that front, and then the final game, the number 1 for me, it's probably going to be no surprise, Black Ops 3. From top to bottom, I think one of the best games for its value to be released on console, and I'll tell you why. You could have sold that game for $3 $40 increments the zombies experience, by like obviously with Dead Ops Arcade and zombies. You could have sold the campaign with Nightmare Mode and Free Run, right? And you could have sold the multiplayer and everything that came with that as its own entity as well. I mean, Black Ops 3 had so much content. It was so well done. Yes, there were things that people didn't like, obviously specialists, but I mean, at the end of the day, that was fun for a majority of the casual community. It was flashy. It was a playmaker game. That's why people loved watching it. People loved to play it because you could feel like a superhero at times. And that just led for never-ending moments of like, what's going to happen next? Glitch, for example, why I always use that specialist was just like, it was like rolling a dice twice a game in S&D and just hoping something crazy happened. And for a streamer, that was the best thing in the world. Campaign was obviously crazy, and then unlocking like a different campaign after a Nightmare Mode. I never wound up playing it, but I heard some great things. Zombies, the Easter eggs. Zombies garnered even more views than anything else on YouTube and streaming when those big moments would happen. And it's because people were so into it. They loved this 8+ year story finally coming to a conclusion. Insane, epic stuff. Free Run, which was just a new little thing that they added. I remember when it came out and people were playing it, there was little competitions around, who would get the fastest time, and when G-sliding was in the game versus not. There was all sorts of people trying to be best at that. And then multiplayer, I mean, adding the 1,000 levels you could push towards, so much replayability. Streaks were still fun. I mean, you wind up dropping some raps down, and that really never gets old. So that's my list. I want to hear your thoughts on it. Roast me in the comments if you must. Be sure to like and subscribe. I want to hear your thoughts. What are your top 5? Tweet them at me. Leave them in the comments. Go back and forth with each other. Thank you guys all so much for the love. Not too much has happened with Roster Mania in the last 24 hours. Maven's gone as well, but we'll pick it up soon and give some final thoughts when it's all done and settled. The Claystro interview should be coming in the next 48 hours, as long as my new 2v2 S&D series with attached. I love you all. Thank you guys so much for watching. That's it for me for now. Remember, my top 5 is my opinion, so it's right.